I'm Dean Trentowski. Welcome to our regular council agenda for Perth County Council, Thursday, December 18th, 2025. I call this meeting to order 9 a.m. Welcome council colleagues, welcome staff, guests, and the public. We'll ask for a moment of reflection before we start our meeting. And in doing so, I would also ask that everyone consider the family of Cody Phelps, a West Perth staff member and a community member who passed away suddenly and unexpectedly on Friday of last week. So I ask that you keep Cody's family in your thoughts at this time. Thank you. So at this time, I will read our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that Perth County is situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, who have a long-standing relationship with the land and water throughout the region. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. As a county, we have a responsibility for reconciliation and the continued stewardship of the land on which we live and work. Item 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Look towards colleagues to express any disclosures at this time. Okay, seeing none from my colleagues. If the need arises at any point throughout the meeting, please indicate that to the chair. I must disclose my own pecuniary interest with respect to the following items. Item 8.1.1, application for draft plan of vacant land condominium extension, WP 19-02, K&G Rose Construction Limited. Please be advised that I declare a pecuniary interest on this agenda item. Because this matter could potentially appear before the hearings committee of the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, and because I am the current chair of that committee, I must withdraw myself from this agenda item and turn the chair over to Deputy Warden Orr until this agenda item has been concluded, at which point I will rejoin the meeting and resume the chair. Similarly, I must also abstain from item 15.1, confirmatory bylaw 4051-2025, and in the same way also turn the chair over to Deputy Warden Orr until this agenda item has also been concluded, at which point I will rejoin the meeting and resume the chair. All right, item 5, confirmation of the agenda. I'll turn to Clerk Sager to confirm if there's been any additions or deletions to the agenda that was circulated before this meeting.
Thank you. Through the Warren, no additions or deletions at this time.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Sager. So, colleagues, I ask that the December 18th, 2025 agenda be approved. Moved by Councillor Kaysenberg, seconded. Councillor Wilhelm, discussion. Call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Consent agenda. We have a multitude of items there, 22 in total. Look to colleagues if anyone wishes to extract one of these items for further discussion or debate. Final call. Seeing none, then the recommendation is that the council receives the consent agenda items 6.1 to 6.22 and approves the December 4th, 2025 council minutes. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor McDermott. Any further discussion? All the question, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Thank you. All right, moving on to section 7, public meetings, public hearings and delegations, 7.1. We have a presentation from Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, Kate Burns-Gallagher. Presentation is a unified voice for rural Western Ontario. And it's my pleasure to welcome Kate to our council meeting. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning. Thank you, Warren. Through you to County Council. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you. This is our first delegation to our county members for the 25-26 year, so it's always nice to be in Perth County first. So thank you for that. This is our new presentation, giving you an update on all the things we've done in the past year since we came to visit you in 2024. So this will give you an overview of our advocacy work over the past year, as well as our strategic priorities that we set at the beginning of 2025 that will take us through to the beginning of 2027. Pardon me. There we go, perfect. So who are we? Just a quick little recap. We are the 15 counties in Western Ontario. So we go from Simcoe County all the way down to Essex County. Our population has grown to about 1.6 million people, just over that. 117 municipalities strong, 250,000 businesses, and 90% rural. And we are home to Ontario's economic engine. That has become our tagline as we do our advocacy. We are home to agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, energy, and critical supply chains that are really important to not only Ontario, but all of Canada. So that is a lot of the hinging point of our advocacy as we move forward over the next 2 years. And what do? We work collectively at our core to advance shared interests and regional priorities for all 15 counties. So what we really want to do is speak with that unified voice. It's about finding those topics, those issues that are of the collective nature of all 15 counties. And we provide that unified voice, and we go and speak to both the provincial and federal governments. We also conduct research and analysis to inform solutions and build partnerships from across the region. Our work is consistent, nonpartisan, and grounded in evidence. In our missions, we advocate, as I said, with a unified voice to advance common needs and opportunities through collaboration and evidence-based solutions. And I can't stress that enough. We do a lot of work. We make sure we know what we're talking about when we get to the table, and ensuring a prosperous and connected future for Western Ontario. The mission is the foundation for everything that we do: advocacy research, partnership building, and membership support. So our strategic goals, we set the 25 to 27 strategic plan in January at our AGM of this year, of 2025. And there's 4 major goals. The first being the voice for the region, which is consistent and coordinated advocacy. We want to be an information source for the region and our membership, and provide members with insights, data, and research. We want to be an asset for our counties as well, with shared regional initiatives, tools, and capacity building. And lastly, we want to be a valued partner to government. So we want to have proactive engagement that positions the WOWC as a collaborative problem solver. So the structure really positions the caucus for measurable outcomes and sharper advocacy. So it's really honed us in. So when we look at the voice for the region, we have 4 strategic priorities that we focus in on. You'll notice there's a theme of 4 across the board. And those 4 strategic priorities are infrastructure, housing, workforce, mental health, addictions, and homelessness. And those issues are all interconnected as well. They're not in silos when we look at them. So first is infrastructure development and funding. We know infrastructure is quite literally the backbone of everything that we do in our communities. It's roads, it's bridges, it's water, wastewater, broadband, and transit we can consider under infrastructure as well. And we know our municipalities face high costs and limited revenue bases, particularly in rural communities. When even just yesterday we were speaking with FCM, and I was using the example of 1 kilometer of pipe or road or of fiber internet in a rural community might pass 1 household, but in an urban environment, it could pass 10,000 households. So that 1 kilometer of whatever infrastructure you're putting in has very different implications when you're looking at urban and rural. And so we've really got to get that message across when we're doing our advocacy, so that we're using tangible examples when we're doing that advocacy when it comes to infrastructure. And we're trying to get that message across. That dollars are different in urban versus rural. And we're not trying to take away from our urban counterparts, but we just need to tell the rural story. Our second priority, housing. You can't have housing without that infrastructure. They go hand in hand. And Western Ontario, we're punching above our weight when it comes to housing. We're building more housing in Western Ontario than any other part of the province. And so we need that infrastructure to support it. We need secured, sustained infrastructure investment. We need to recognize the rural needs when it comes to legislation. And we need to support an attainable workforce for our housing needs. We need the housing to support the workforce, and we need the workforce to build the housing. So we need to look at it as a fulsome approach when we're talking about housing. Thirdly, no surprise, is workforce. And so we're looking at how to create solutions for workforce, training partnerships with colleges, universities, and industry. We have really strong post-secondary institution relationships. Broadband and transportation. Transportation has become a big piece of the conversation, especially with the lack of funding that's coming from the province, and what can we do about transportation for our rural communities. And policy tools that can help employers recruit and retain talent. So we understand that a strong workforce is only going to enhance our ability to have strong communities and ensure that Western Ontario remains the economic engine that it is today. And last but not least, we look at mental health supports and services. So mental health supports and services are an increasing concern for our municipalities because it's an increasing budget line on many of our municipalities as well, where it never has been before. And because we're spending more money in our municipalities on mental health services and supports, there's less money to spend on our basic needs, which is infrastructure, the property tax roll, if you will. So we are strongly advocating for dedicated funding for rural mental health and addictions, expanded wraparound service models, relief for unsupported social service costs, and long-term sustainable funding rather than crisis response. So right now we are doing a data collection to see how much our 15 counties are investing in mental health services above and beyond the provincial dollars. One county right now is $8 million above and beyond what the province is investing. So there's a lot of dollars committed. And so we need to see and be able to tell that story, that those are the dollars that we're investing locally as well. So those are our top 4 priorities. And then we go back to those 4 goals of the strategic plan. We are an information source as well. And our role is as a research and information source. We have a regional economic development strategy, and Councillor Mackenzie sits on our economic development committee and has for a number of years and helps implement that economic development strategy. We have a workforce strategy and labor market intelligence that helps fuel our economic development offices, and Meredith Bourget sits on our economic development subject matter expert team. We have housing and infrastructure data tools, which we've partnered with the Rural Ontario Institute on rural housing information systems. We research partnerships with post-secondary institutions as well. We work with the University of Guelph, Western University, and the Schulich School of Business. And most recently, we've submitted an application to the Trade Impacted Communities Program for a supply chain mapping project, which we are very hopeful we'll hear about in January. Additionally, we also, the third goal of our plan is being an asset for our counties. So we're looking at those collaborative initiatives that we do, from our shared initiatives that amplify regional capacity and allow counties to benefit from economies of scale, and those joint projects that we mentioned just on the last slide there from the workforce strategy and housing symposiums. We also have events like our Western Ontario Municipal Conference, which this year was sold out, and we were pleased to have the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing join us to open up the conference, and Steve Paikin was our keynote speaker. It was a phenomenal event. And just we wrapped up as well earlier this month, Fall Funders Forums, where we brought together 6 ministry representatives into 6 of our counties to talk about funding that's available. And we had representatives from municipalities, not-for-profit business organizations, as well as business, to learn about funding that's available and connect them to the regional advisors at those different ministries, if you will. So we saw over 300 people take part in those Fall Funders Forums in 2 weeks, which is fantastic. And the last, I have myself there. The last component of our strategic goals is being a valued partner of government. We want to make sure that the government reaches out to us when they're looking to think about implementing policy, when they're looking to, for input on things happening in Western Ontario, we want to make sure that they're coming to our caucus to consult. So we've really upped the ante, I would say, in the past few years with our advocacy, and we're seeing the results of that. We've been at the table when it comes to the municipal code of conduct. We sat at the steering committee, the standing committee, to provide our comments. We've been at the past 3 budget submission sessions where we've been able to provide pre-budget submissions. If you look on our resources section on the website, we've been submitting ERO registry submissions on all of the legislation as well. And then we've also been invited federally. We've just most recently attended the Rural Federal Development Roundtable with the Parliamentary Secretary, Pauline Rochefort. She's pictured there on the second from the right at our AMO conference as well. So we're making sure that when the call needs to be made, that we are reached out to and consulted as a whole from Western Ontario. So looking forward for 2026 and beyond, our strategic plan will continue to advocate with clarity and purpose on those 4 priorities. We look to strengthen those relationships with all levels of government. We are moving forward more fulsomely with the federal government than we have before in developing strategies for that. We are expanding our regional research and analysis. So if we've received positive word on that Trade Impacted Communities program, that's going to be a major project for the region. And we support our counties through that shared initiative and capacity building. Those subject matter expert teams are incredibly valuable, and we appreciate. Also, Andrea Heckler here has been chair of our planning committee as well. So we really appreciate those subject matter expert teams providing that intel that we're able to then provide the information to the province as well, and to the federal government. So that collective work brings together a really great, strong Western Ontario that shows we're competitive and resilient. And I think it's only good things moving forward for us for 2026. So thank you so much for the opportunity to present, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Excellent, thanks, Kate. Colleagues, questions for Kate. Councillor Smith, go ahead.
Thanks through you, Warden. Not a question, just a comment on the conference, the one-day conference. It's just an excellent day for everyone to come together. It's just awesome, and Steve Pickens, a good choice as well. So I think next year is in Guelph.
Yes.
So at some point in the near future, we should maybe select Perth County at some point and have it here. So anyway, it's a great day to get together. So thanks for coming.
Okay. Councillor Kasenberg, go ahead, please.
Could I invite an update on the Western Warden's advocacy and work on rural broadband?
Of course, yes. So we work through you, the councillor. We work very closely with SWIFT, and most recently we received a letter yesterday that has gone out to the Minister Lecce, and so we have requested a delegation, and as of yesterday, we received notification that we have been accepted for delegation at Roma. So we will be advocating in partnership with SWIFT on next steps in province's broadband rollout.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Councillor Kellum, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Warden Trentowski. Kate, thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you for your leadership. It doesn't go unnoticed. This past year, as you know, I worked alongside of you and the other Western Wardens. A great group, as I have always said to CAO Wolf and Warden Trentowski and Deputy Orr. When you need to fill in, you're going to work with a great bunch of people. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Warden Kellum. And yeah, to echo, or Councillor Kellum, thank you, Councillor Kellum, to echo his comments. Yeah, I look forward to meeting at our annual general meeting on the 9th next month. As Councillor Kellum indicated, it's an excellent group to work with. I had occasion to attend last year's AGM on behalf of then Warden Kellum, and yeah, I can attest it's a very engaged and energized group. So looking forward to that. Anything further? Seeing none. Resolution reads as follows: that Council receives the presentation, A Unified Voice for Rural Western Ontario, WOWC, Kate Burns Gallagher, for information. By Councillor Kellum, second by Councillor McKenzie. Any further discussion, questions, comments? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Kate. Right, moving on, section 8, staff reports, 8.1, planning services. We have 3 items. First one is 8.1.1, application for draft plan condominium extension, WP 1902, K&D Rose Construction Limited. John Bites, our planner, will lead the discussion, and at this point, I will vacate the room and turn the chair over to Deputy Moore.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair and Council. So before you today is a condominium approval extension request by K&D Rose Construction Limited. The location is 230 Ontario Road in Mitchell. That's a red star on the slide there. Before I get into the PowerPoint presentation here, I just want to mention that there has been a recommendation change from planning staff. So it was originally to deny the third extension request. This is now changed to approval of a 90-day extension request as they've applied for. The reasoning for the change is essentially on Tuesday, the applicants submitted their clearance package for their conditions. The original denial recommendation was based on the fact that this is the third extension request that they are requesting. There was originally not enough work completed at time of report writing. And this being close to the 7th year now, there was the feel as though that we were tying up servicing capacity for Mitchell. So now that the applicants have submitted their clearance package and they're at the final stages here, planning staff feel as though that the recommendation can be changed at this point. So I just want to give everyone a quick synopsis of what was draft approved back in 2019. So essentially, there were 7 buildings with a total of 28 townhouse dwelling units and common element blocks. The development is located towards the northern section of the property. It does not encroach into the hazard areas associated with Burl Creek. Because of the change and change in recommendation, I'll stop there and see if there's any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Bice? Councillor Riggins?
Just through Deputy Warden, sorry. For clarification, what is a clearance package?
So through you, Deputy Warden, so essentially when in 2019, the application for the draft plan of condominium, there's lots of conditions that they need to meet in order to, they need to fulfill these conditions before they go and register the subdivision or condominium. So essentially what they've done is they've sent in clearance packages to both Perth County and West Perth, saying that West Perth's conditions have been cleared by them, as well as Perth County's conditions have been cleared by them. So now essentially both West Perth and Perth County can go ahead and take a look at the clearance packages and make sure that they are indeed cleared. So on the applicants end, they believe that they've cleared everything they need to go ahead and register the condominium. The extension at this point would be so that municipal and county staff could go ahead and review those clearance packages and ensure what they believe is cleared is truly in fact cleared.
Any other questions? Seeing none, since there was a change, could Clerk Sager read out the recommendation?
Yeah, absolutely. So through the Deputy Warden, the resolution will read as the council receives the application for draft plan of vacant land condominium extension, WP 1902 K&D Rose Construction Limited report, and that council approves an extension of draft plan of vacant land condominium, WP 1902 for lands legally described as part of Park Lots 81 and 82, Land 341 Mitchell, Parts 1 and 2, 44R 6043 in the municipality of West Perth for 90 days.
Moved by Councillor Mackenzie, seconded by Councillor McDermott. Any further questions? Call the question. All those approve, all those in favor? Any opposed? None? It's carried. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Deputy Warden Orr, for filling in during my absence. Okay, so we'll move on to item 8.1.2, Conservation Authority Regional Consolidation. We have a report from Andrea Hackler, our Director of Planning. Good morning, Andrea. Welcome.
Morning, thank you. So this report and presentation is basically outlining the changes that are being proposed by the province in terms of Conservation Authority consolidation. Both Councillor McDermott and Warden Trentowski were at the municipal information session that was provided to us from the province on Friday afternoon. Unfortunately, I was a little bit disappointed that each municipality only got 2 invitations. The county did not receive any invitations, which I'm hearing from some of my other colleagues that they also did not receive invitations. However, I was fortunate enough to be forwarded an invitation from Upper Thames. And so perhaps at some point in time after my presentation, if Warden Trentowski or Councillor to add anything further, you're more than welcome to if I've missed anything. So basically, I'll give you a little bit of background. So on November 6, 2025, the province released Bill 68, which is entitled A Plan to Protect Ontario Act. And it later received royal assent on November 27th without a public consultation process. Among other changes, this act proposed significant changes to the Conservation Authorities Act to create a new Ontario Provincial Conservation Agencies, the OPCA, which would oversee the conservation authorities across the province. And then just for some background, I wanted to share with Council as well. In the past 6 years, 4 bills have been passed that have drastically changed the rules governing conservation authorities, all with which has deeply impacted their ability to do their jobs in the guise of speeding up development. And so concurrent with that legislation, or that legislative announcement, the province also released consultation on new conservation authority boundaries as part of the plan to reduce the number of CAs from 36 to 7. And I've included 2 maps for council's information. The one is what was issued from the province, which shows the new boundaries for the 7 conservation authorities. And then I've also included a map that shows the conservation authorities in each of our municipalities. And so you'll see that there will be a total of 2 conservation authorities that would oversee all of Perth County. So basically, this report is to provide an outline of what is being proposed, but then also a number of recommendations that we would like to forward on to the province through the ERO posting, which is open until December 22nd, 2025. So just for some further background, conservation authorities were originally established through the Conservation Authorities Act in 1946. And the act was established at the request of municipalities within a common watershed, so they could work together on local resource management, which included flooding and erosion hazards. And then over time, the Conservation Authority Act has changed significantly to increase the scope of the Conservation Authority's role, with most notable changes being introduced in 2017 to provide for the organization and delivery of programs and services that further the conservation, restoration, development, and management of natural resources and watersheds in Ontario. And so then with this proposed latest amendment through Bill 68, the OPCA, so that's the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency, will be a board-governed agency with the stated purpose of providing centralized leadership, efficient governance, strategic direction, and oversight of all conservation authorities. And so more specifically in my report, you'll see that I've outlined their specific roles that they're responsible for. So without going into great detail, I'll just quickly list them. So there's overseeing the governance of conservation authorities, overseeing the transition to a regional watershed-based framework, assessing and reporting on the effectiveness of authorities, overseeing and evaluating financial performance of authorities, promoting consistent policies, standards, and fees, guiding and evaluating the strategic planning by authorities, supporting the development and implementation of a standardized and centralized system for processing applications for permits that are issued, leading the development and implementation of digital strategies and shared services, supporting strategic investment in programs and services, and advising the Government of Ontario in respect to the programs and services authorities are providing. So then I wanted to briefly explain what the proposed governance model is for the CAs. So the CAs will change from the boards made up by municipal councillors chosen by local councils to the new agency being overseen by a board of 5 to 12 members appointed provincially by the Lieutenant Governor. And then with respect to the funding model for the OPCA, it'll be similar to that of the current conservation authorities, with a certain amount being paid provincially, another portion being passed to the conservation authorities to incorporate into levies, and self-generated revenues and fees for services. And then I have a breakdown from Conservation Authority, but I have heard different numbers, and perhaps either Warden Trentowski or Councillor McDermott could provide the actual numbers in terms of the conservation boards that they sit on. But Conservation Authority reports that municipal levies make up for 53% of the CA's budgets. Self-generated revenue is about 35%. And then provincial grants and special projects are around 8%, but I've heard also 3%, as low as 3%. And then there's also a component of federal grants or contracts, which equate to approximately 4%. And again, those numbers were provided by Conservation Authority. So OPCA's responsibility to oversee the transition of CAs to a regional watershed-based framework is proposed to happen within about a year. And the proposed consolidation will reduce again from the 36 to 7. The province's rationale for the proposed consolidation is to reduce duplicative administrative costs, free up resources for frontline conservation, and better align Conservation Authority services with provincial priorities on housing, the economy, infrastructure, and climate resilience. I've also provided a table that shows how many municipalities will be overseen by each new conservation authority. So you can see the Lake Erie Regional Conservation Authority will be overseeing 81 municipalities. And then, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we currently work with, in the boundaries of Perth County, we work with 4 conservation authorities. So those are the Asselville Bayfield Conservation Authority, Grand River Conservation Authority, Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, and Upper Thames Conservation Authority. And so then I was going to provide us an overview of what we've indicated as concerns. This was based on research that our department did, as well as in review of all the letters that we've seen our different conservation authorities providing. And so without going into too much detail, because I'm sure council will likely have some questions after this. So the list that we've provided is, so the first potential concern that we have is reduced transparency and local autonomy. And that's with respect strictly to the makeup of the boards in terms of no longer having that local representation on those boards. The other thing is up until these proposed changes have taken place, we have had a voice in terms of rural and agricultural context. And the concern is that when we're put together with 80 other municipalities, potentially that voice is lost, and there becomes more of an urban-centric focus. And then we also lose that watershed focus that we've had for all these years and the purpose of the Local Conservation Authorities Act for being established. Another potential concern is less certainty and efficiency for municipalities. So the larger the service becomes, the more concern we have with them being able to meet our local needs and support us. As you all know, our landowners within Perth County are interested in moving our processes as quickly as possible. Recently, I can say that our conservation authorities that we work closely with have been meeting our required timelines, and we have been able to meet the majority of our statutory timelines when it comes to processing planning applications. And we hear a few concerns about receiving land use permits in delays. However, we have concerns that may be lost. We also have concerns that the larger the CA becomes, the less likely we have that local expertise sitting there responding to our residents' concerns. And then along the same lines, we are concerned with inefficiencies and delays with the permitting process and approvals. And so we're asking that the province ensure that these timelines continue to be met and that we can maintain that local expertise. The lack of oversight of reserves, investments, and local assets. So I have another stat in here from Conservation Ontario, in that the conservation authorities across Ontario own and manage 150,000 hectares of natural and built assets, including forests, wetlands, areas of natural and scientific interest, and recreational lands, as well as lands and infrastructure for flood and erosion control. So we are asking that the province allow decisions about these natural and built assets to continue to be made at a local watershed level by the communities that use and care for them. And then our final concern is having less influence on funding. And so based on the board makeup, the concern is again that we lose that voice. And so we are asking that the province ensure that the Regional Conservation Authority Board balances local accountability, fair representation, operational efficiencies. And so those are the comments that we are hoping to provide to the province. We're looking to council for direction on that to include those comments on the ERO posting. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. You mentioned you were also looking for comments from myself, Councillor McDermott. And also Councillor Duncan sits as a representative of Maitland Valley. So at this time, I'll call upon Councillor McDermott and Councillor Duncan to add any comments that they may wish to provide at this time.
Okay, I attended the engagement session in Collingwood last week. I don't really have a whole lot flattering to say about it. First of all, the minister showed up 15 minutes late, started a 2-hour meeting 15 minutes late. Then I listened to Hassan Bassat, the new Chief Conservation Executive, explain to us his plan for his thoughts on the way forward for the future of conservation authorities. Then they gave us a workbook on a table with pre-chosen questions and asked us to provide input on them. I don't think they were looking for engagement at all. I think they were looking for something to say, yeah, we're happy with your idea forward and just write your thoughts on this piece of paper and thanks for coming out. 40 minutes we had time to discuss and present our thoughts, and that was it. The meeting was over. It's a 2.5-hour drive to Collingwood from my place. And I got an hour and 40 minutes and really I'm no farther ahead than what I was before I went there. Other than some of the comments made by Mr. Bassat were quite obvious that the province has decided what's going to happen here. They've already, he made the comment that there's a mathematical formula for board representation. So I don't know how much engagement they were actually looking for at this session. That's what I've got to say about it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duncan. Councillor McDermott, go ahead, please.
I was in London, and I have to kind of agree with my colleague that everything seemed to be somewhat predetermined. And again, my concerns were that you're dealing with a really large area, and usually rural gets pushed out. I understand they want to build houses quicker and all that kind of stuff, but problem was the lack of details and the money. I'm Scotch, so who's going to pay for everything? And how's that going to trickle down to us? Does that mean our taxes are going to go up, like our levies? Are they going to be higher because now you have another bureaucracy that you have to pay for? So it was concerning from a rural perspective that even as it is now on the board, when it comes to voting on the budget, it's all based on assessment. So the City of London actually has 50% of the votes when we vote on budget. Everything else is just one vote. But on budget matters, they get half the votes because they actually pay, I think it is, Dean may correct me, but I think it's 55% of the budget comes from them. So I have about 1.32 votes, which in a way, I understand it, but it's somewhat not fair in the fact that we have the land, they may have the money, but their effect on us is just as great as whether, we pay 1.3% of the budget or not. But it's just the feeling that possibly the rural areas will get left behind again.
Okay, thanks, Councillor McDermott. So, yeah, I will add my comments as well as the West Perth representative on Upper Thames and also the chair of the Upper Thames board. This has been discussed extensively since the minister's announcement was first made October 31st. I'll just a couple things here on the levy. I recall that it's around 60% at Upper Thames, around 60% of the budget is paid via the municipal levy. The provincial contribution is very minimal, less than 5%, probably 2 or 3%. The rest is made up through user fees, collection of user fees, the application fees for Section 28 approvals. That has been frozen by the province for the last, since I've been on the board since 2022. The province has continually mandated that those fees remain frozen. Upper Thames, our cost recovery was set at 50% of actual cost. So the fees were already at a discounted rate, and the discounting continues to drop below 50% because the cost of doing the work continues to rise. But the fee charge is stagnant. Colleagues will recall that here at the county, we just updated our fee schedule here most recently to be more reflective of our actual costs. That hasn't been the case at the conservation authorities across the province, as I said, for some time. So the only recourse that a conservation authority has is to recover that money through the municipal levy. So that's been an issue, and that will continue to be an issue under the new governance structure. These issues still need to be resolved. And to my colleague's point and to Andrea's point about having input on how those issues will be resolved is being further removed away from the local level, and it's becoming a more centralized discussion and a more centralized manner of coming to making solutions. I will point out a couple things. There was a mention about the purpose of this restructuring was to eliminate duplication of services. And what's not captured in the report or in my colleagues' comments is that the province mandated to the conservation authorities by the end of 2024 that they must undergo a mandatory series of, I'll call them managerial and operational changes in how they administer their business. Asset management, watershed management, there was an ice management plan, different plans and strategies that the province mandated that all conservation authorities must follow this prescribed set of plans and must have their plans in place by the end of 2024. Upper Thames did that. I'm almost, sorry, I left you out of the conversation as well, Councillor Smith, because you're with the Grand River, and I apologize for that. It's an oversight on my part. But to my knowledge, all of the conservation authorities complied with that deadline of 2024. So a lot of, whatever the province has asked up until this point, conservation authorities have done that. They've complied with that. And now we're getting another set of changes. And we're confused by it because the province hasn't clearly identified what they wanted, what they want out of this latest round of changes. They haven't identified how the change management will occur too. Andrea's point about how will this impact future development applications. With all the change and uncertainty, how will these files be dealt with? And make sure that there's no undue delay or harm to the applicants. Another thing that's come out of this discussion is the province. When I mentioned the changes in 2024, one of them was it used to be required that applicants would pre-consult with the conservation authorities. There'd be a pre-consultation period before their application would be filed. And the province, for whatever reason, changed the rules and said pre-consultation is no longer a requirement, no longer necessary. So applicants are now, for lack of a better explanation, they're just coming in blindly with their applications and just kind of throwing a dart on the wall, blindfolded, hoping that what's in their application will be acceptable. And what's happened, the unintended consequences, the process has become more frustrating for the applicant as well as the authority staff trying to get these applications to a point where they can be accepted, which leads to longer delays in the overall processing of these applications. And yeah, to Andrea's point, local voices would get lost. Transition costs to pulling resources away from the frontline work to address these changes could be very significant and very expensive. Consolidating IT systems, HR functions, and governance structures isn't cheap or quick. Development, urban and rural development could face delays. Applicants rely on timely, local informed permitting processes and responses. Centralizing these services could have the opposite effect, and rather than speeding up, would slow them down. And as I mentioned already, applicants need direct access to the staff to find creative solutions to the complex development challenges that are present. And the authorities are willing to do that. They're willing to sit down and work on that. At Upper Thames, the board had already instructed staff last year to come forward with a streamlining and a plan to streamline service delivery and make improvements. And that report was just tabled at the board of directors meeting earlier this week. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the authorities, at least from the Upper Thames perspective, and I'm sure from the other ones as well, we are trying to be proactive. We're not trying to be, we're trying to help the system. We're trying to help it make it better, be proactive instead of reactive, and cooperate with applicants because everyone realizes the importance of the need for development, the need for housing, as Kate Burns-Gallagher mentioned in her presentation earlier. Infrastructure, housing, and those necessary things that are needed for growth. And CAs get that. They're trying to do their best with what they've got. But in some cases, the funding is limited in terms of mapping, in terms of processing these applications. And we just want the province to be a true partner in the endeavors that the Conservation Authority, the legislated responsibilities that the province has bestowed upon them. We just want the province to be true partners to carry out those duties. The same way here at the county, we want the province to be true partners with respect to infrastructure and other matters. So I'll turn it over to Councillor Smith. I'm sorry, I neglected to ask you for your comments earlier. I apologize.
That's okay through you, Warden. Yes, I sit on GRCA, Grand River. I'm representing Perth East and North Perth, and I echo everyone's comments. I don't want to say too much for fear of saying something I shouldn't say. Again, the funding, the representation, we do what the province asks us. We went from, one of the big things was they removed citizen representation. It has to be a member of council that sits. We lost a number of very good, knowledgeable people to that. And that's my biggest fear is we're going to lose some good representation. Who knows how it's going to be made up. Great report, Andrea, and I support the staff's comments that we need to send that to the province. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Smith. So one final comment, and then I'll open the floor to questions and comments from council colleagues. Further to Councillor Duncan's analysis for the London regional meeting, the minister was not present in person. Chief Conservation Executive Bassett was there in person. It was disappointing that the minister, although the minister did join us virtually, he was in the passenger seat of a car, changing out his jacket. He was 5 minutes late, I believe, in getting started. And he was telling us that he was at 3 or 4 different events already that day. He was telling us that, and then sitting in his car, changing his jacket, reading through his notes about the proposed changes under Bill 68 and Schedule 3. So, and there was no debate in committee through the government. Conservation authorities were given an 8 a.m. Teams meeting on October 31st to give the heads up. 2 hours later, the minister announced the changes in a press conference to the public. 2 weeks later, we had 1 hour with the Chief Conservation Executive on a Teams meeting, half an hour presentation, 30 minutes for questions. Not all the questions were answered. Some of the questions weren't even fielded. And then we have the regional roundtables. So there's been very, very minimal amount of consultation, input, or discussion on this to date. That's why it's important to get comments through to the environmental registry, which is due midnight the 22nd. So with that, I'll turn the floor over to colleagues. Councillor Kasenberg, you're first on the speakers list.
Thank you, Warden Trentowski. Sometimes I feel like it's time for a revolution. We've gone through a real mess, it feels like, for a few years, and you've heard my rant on weeks ago with regards to planning and planning doctrine in the province of Ontario. And here we are again, looking at significant changes that don't seem very attentive to the interests of our communities, of our land, of our stewardship for same. I'll echo, I think, what my colleagues have pointed out. I don't want to sound ad hominem, but it certainly sounds like the process that has been used by the province to consult is largely non-existent. And that's a challenge for something that represents a fundamental change in the structures of management and leadership, maybe more importantly, on things related to our land and land use in this particular area. So I express concern. I know this council has in fact writhed a bit about consultation policies with regards to our forestry bylaw. And so we've gone through it and tried to figure out how to do it better and meet needs. And the province doesn't seem to be paying any attention
to having reasonable public consultation on this. Even the deadline that was imposed for inputs on the Conservation Authority restructuring that they've talked about is rather furtive. That's the best word I can think of, but putting it right before Christmas seems like an intentional action to deter commentary. Sadly, as you and I both have seen, on our consent agendas at every level of council, we've seen massive outcry of concern from municipal governments with regards to these actions. And I want to focus on a few, some of which, and I defer to Councillor Smith, I'm trying not to repeat things that have already been said, but a few things that I think are interesting. So let's talk about the agency that they're creating at the provincial level, big conservation. You know, we talk about big pharma, big government, and now they're creating big conservation in Ontario. And that's going to take some dollars, right? If those dollars are essentially coming from the existing pot, which seems to be the implication of some of the information that we've received, that means that there are going to be fewer dollars available to be spent in the local areas, even if we're talking about 7 of them instead of 36. And so the only conclusion that one can form from that is that unless there's a reduction in service through the reduction in staff across the system, or unless there's an increase in the levy to pay for the new and advanced structures that they're putting in place, we have a problem. And most of us are not really that keen on seeing more of the property tax dollar going towards big conservation in the broad scope of this, because we don't have a lot of confidence that this biggering that's going on is actually going to benefit the end product, the end outcomes that we're seeking. So I have absolutely a concern about that, and about paying for playing. And if the province wants to go and change things, then they bloody well better bring to the table the funds that are going to be involved, especially for big conservation at the provincial level. So certainly money is important in this play, in this initiative. And municipal governments look like we're going to be holding the purse and having less say perhaps than ever, which is interesting, because it seems consistent with the trend from the province to download stuff to us and not download the resources or funds to take care of it. First set of comments. Second thing I want to comment on is planning application review speeds and the like, which you've identified well. And I want to point out one simple thing. Where do the complaints come to? When things are kind of off track or too slow or whatever, who's going to hear about it? Doug and Bob. We're going to hear about it because we're the local elected officials who people trust and can reach. And so this is going to create a whole new level of local voice being lost because they're yapping at us. People are complaining at us. But we have no say. We have no influence. We have no way to intervene. In fact, I can't help but think that what I need on my phone moving forward is an automated message that I can just press a button and it will say, please contact conservation, a big conservation, or contact the new super conservation area, because we're going to get those calls and we're going to get those complaints. And it's just going to increase, frankly, our workload, which, if you ask me, is already underfunded. Now, let's talk one more thing here, I think that's important, and that is that from everything that we've seen, there is an omission of stewardship services in the mandate discussions with regards to these new conservation restructuring areas. And I personally believe that stewardship services should be a core mandate available to the conservation authorities, whatever structure they are. I can comment, in fact, that even at this council, we've indicated some reliance on the conservation authorities for some of those stewardship services. And now we could well be left with footing the bill for even more, once again, because that's gone. So they're going to rip the money out. They're going to give us less say. They're going to create big conservation, and they're going to remove some of the fundamental things that we in Perth County have valued. And I find that very disturbing. Last point, I dread to actually speculate this, but you look at those maps and you see 7 areas, and it leads you to wonder whether this is a map of the new municipality structure in all of Ontario. It also leaves you to wonder if this is not the same map that will be used for school boards in Ontario. Certainly, something not that dissimilar was proposed not all that long ago for health units and for EMS services. And so wouldn't it be really easy for Ontario to say, wouldn't it be lovely if everything just overlapped? And we have just 7 municipalities in all of Ontario, 7 school boards that match, 7 conservation authorities that match. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And you and I know the truth, that each of us at this table is a diligent elected official who works on behalf of local voices, who cares about our community, and who wants to see provident living and quality of life in our communities. We're not neglectful of any of these things that the province seems to suggest at times that we're neglectful of. We have an unmatched, if you ask me, EMS service in this county. We have unmatched attention to detail in our planning with remarkable speeds. And we have exceptional current conservation authorities that are doing the work. Yeah, occasionally we have frustrations. I'm looking at Councillor Wilhelm. Occasionally we have our frustrations, but we have frustrations with all those things, and yet we're accessible to the people. And that's our value. And that's the value of the conservation authorities as well, focusing on the local watersheds and being available to the people. So yes, I've gone on another Todd rant just ahead of Christmas, but this is concerning. And if I may ask one thing, in terms of the comments that the county puts forward, please consider adding to this the omission of stewardship services as a comment that needs to be addressed, because I think at times, again, we may quibble about it, but we value the opportunity that we have in our county to leverage the work of conservation authorities towards stewardship.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kaisenberg. I'll go through the rest of the comments, but on your point about stewardship, are you proposing to add that as an amendment to our comments list? Okay, all right, I'll hold that, and I'll go back to that, but I'd like to hear comments from the rest of council. Anyone else? Councillor McKenzie, go ahead, please.
Yeah, my comments are going to be a lot shorter than what Todd, but I do agree. And Andrea, I think it's an excellent report. And I think, it's not that many years ago that we had some concerns about conservation authorities and, maybe the power that we had, and we were, there were certain people, and some of them around this table, that were unhappy with what was going on. And I think now we're seeing that the pendulum has completely swung the other way, right from right to left or left to right, whichever way you want to call it. And I guess a couple little comments that I have that we can all relate to. Big isn't necessarily always better. And we've seen that in a number of different things that have happened over the years. I think I get the feeling that we're aiming for similarities to the American way. If you ever notice in the States, when they have heavy rains or hurricanes or storms, there's always devastation because people have been allowed to build in areas that they probably shouldn't have been. And you don't see that as much in Ontario. We have a little bit along Lake Erie that's happened over the years with the lake kind of eroding the ground there. But as a rule, in Ontario specifically, we haven't seen that happen. So I agree with what the comments are that everybody's made. And I think we need to forward this to the powers that be. And hopefully there's some hearing at the end of the line that they can understand their concerns.
Okay, thanks, Councillor McKenzie. Deputy Warden Orr, go ahead, please.
I'm also going to keep it fairly short. I am fine with the letter going, but I do align with Councillor Duncan that I think it's a done deal. I'm not sure how much say we have. I do find it curious too that the City of London was asked for a letter of support and they did not. And I think that there's a meeting with the Mayor of London happening, so I'd be curious to see what comes out of that, especially if they have half or more than half to say. So, yeah, those are my comments.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Orr. I guess to your point, I can add that the mayor for the City of London, I watched that council meeting take place, that presentation vote. He said that he would not be voting in support of the motion at that time, but he was recommending a different way to address the issue vis-a-vis what you mentioned, contacting the local mayors in the area and having a discussion. And we'll see where that goes. But there were other considerations. Having watched the vote, the discussion and observed the vote, I do believe there were other considerations at play when that emergent motion was presented. So just presenting that for information. Anyone else? Okay. So I'll read the resolution first. That council receives the Conservation Authority Regional Consolidation Report, and that council directs planning staff to submit comment to the Environmental Registry of Ontario, ERO, and that council directs planning staff to forward the Conservation Authority Regional Consolidation Report to the lower tier municipalities for information. So now that's the resolution. I will ask for a mover and a seconder to get it on the floor, and then I will circle back to Councillor Kasenberg's comments on the amendment. So a mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, seconded by Councillor Smith. Okay, now I'll open the floor for discussion on the resolution. And Councillor Kasenberg, you mentioned about an amendment.
Yeah, I would, if you don't mind, Warden, I would seek sort of general consent from my colleagues to add one additional sort of theme, I guess, to the inputs, which relates to stewardship services and the seeming abandonment of same in mandates in this, and that there needs to be clarification around that role, especially given that municipalities in Perth County have relied to some degree on the stewardship services offered by the current conservation authorities.
Okay. Tyler, are you able to collate that into some verbiage for the amendment? Or?
Yeah, so through the warden, maybe we could look at changing the second one there, that council directs planning staff to submit comment to the Environmental Registry of Ontario, amended to include the value and importance of stewardship, or we could change it to discuss the omission of stewardship. However you want to, do you want to do omission of stewardship from it, or the inclusion of the value and importance of stewardship? I think that's better.
So it's inclusion of the value and importance of stewardship. Yeah, read the amendment again, please, Tyler.
Yes, so through the, I'll read out the full resolution. The council receives the Conservation Authority Regional Consolidation Report. That council directs planning staff to submit comment to the Environmental Registry of Ontario, ERO, amended to include the value and importance of stewardship. That council directs planning staff to forward the Conservation Authority Regional Consolidation Report to the lower tier municipalities for information.
Okay, you'll so move that amendment. Councillor Kasenberg, is there a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Duncan? Okay, so we have a mover and seconder on the amendment. I'll call for discussion on the amendment. Comments, questions, discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. And then, so with that amendment, we had a mover and seconder on the original resolution. Any further comments, questions, or discussions? Councillor Duncan?
I just want to make one more comment before we move on. Although my impression is that this is a done deal at the province, I've also been involved in a lot of discussions since this came up, and over the past week, there seems to be some different discussions floating around that 7 might not be the number. They're going to amalgamate conservation authorities. There's no doubt about that. That's a done deal. But 7 might not be the number. There could be some leeway on which way that goes. And as such, last night at Mainland Valley, we submitted our comments, and we also provided an alternative map for amalgamation last night. So I just wanted to let everybody know that there is a possibility that 7 might not be the number, but we are going to see an amalgamated conservation authority system. I'm pretty sure of that.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Duncan. Councillor Orr?
Would we be able to see that map?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I can send it to everybody.
I'd appreciate
It's based in what it's based on. It's based on the Healthy Lake Huron partnership.
I guess as a supplemental to Councillor Duncan's comments, the Bill 68 Schedule 3 has received royal assent. So that legislation deals with the formation of the central agency. It deals with the proposed consolidation map into the 7 regions. But as the Chief Conservation Executive had pointed out, that part will not be put into effect until at least as early as following the fall 2026 municipal elections. But after that, there's still all the other details that have not been discussed or formulated yet. So to say it's a done deal is true in part, but not in the whole. So, and as Councillor Duncan has pointed out, the situation is still fluid. There's still discussion. There's still different proposals coming forward. As you had pointed out, Councillor Orr, the London City Mayor Josh Morgan is looking for a discussion with local mayors. So this is still very much a fluid situation. So I just wanted to offer that comment and observation as well. So, okay, anything further to discuss? So if not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the resolution, complete with the amendment as agreed upon? Opposed, if any? It's carried. Thank you. All right, so thank you, Andrea, for that report, and we'll move on, and council colleagues for your indulgence on the lengthy discussion. It's an important issue that was worthy of the time spent. Item 8.1.3, the Ontario Land Tribunal appeal for draft plan subdivision file PE 24-01. Go ahead, Andrea.
Thank you. So this report is to update council on a recent appeal that we received. An application for a draft plan of subdivision, as well as a concurrent application for a zoning bylaw amendment, were filed with Perth County and Perth East. And it's for lands located at 12 and 20 Cobalt Street in Milverton in Perth East. And so the applications were to accommodate a total of 25 street townhouse dwellings on 7 blocks and extend Cobalt Street to connect with Pew Street. So the application was deemed complete on July 11, 2024, and it was considered by Perth East Council and recommended for deferral on October 1st, 2024, and that was to encourage the applicant at the time to reduce the number of dwelling units and ensure that there was the provision of adequate parking on the in the draft plan of subdivision. And the application came forward to Perth County Council on December 19th, 2024, and Perth County Council decided to defer the application in accordance with Perth East's requests, in that they asked the applicant to reduce the total number of units. So on October 29th, 2025, a public notice was issued for a revised draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment. And the applicant with that proposed, or sorry, with the revised proposal, it was for 3 semi-detached dwellings and 18 street townhouse units on 9 blocks. And then the Cobalt Street extension would end in a cul-de-sac as opposed to going through to Hugh Street. And so that was for a total of 24 units. And so the application, the amended applications, and I should say too, the original application was supported by Perth County Planning staff. And then the subsequent revised application was also supported by Perth County Planning staff. And it was considered by Perth East Council on November 18th, 2025, where Perth East Council recommended denial on the basis that the density is not consistent with the established neighborhood and the proposed road network is not designed to accommodate traffic and parking. So following the Perth East Council meeting, the applicant filed appeals on December 2nd, 2025 for both applications on the basis of not having a decision within the prescribed period of time under the Planning Act. So there was a staff report that was planned to come to this council meeting. However, once the appeal was filed, it was pulled from the agenda. So in light of the fact that Perth County Council has not had an opportunity to review the revised application and have consideration for it, and therefore has also not made a decision, at this point in time, planning staff are recommending that no further action is required by County Council, and that and representation is not required at the OLT. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thanks, Andrea, for that report. Colleagues, questions or comments? Start with Councillor Kiesenberg first on the speakers list.
Just a quick technical question. Given that the Perth East Council recommended denial and the applicant has moved to OLT, is it then the responsibility of the lower tier in this case to make arguments before the OLT if they so wish? Like, is that how it works? And this is more a technical question for either the Director of Planning or
I'll turn it to staff to respond.
Through the warden, yes, so the Perth East Council has an opportunity to decide whether they would like to provide representation at the OLT to support the decision that they've made.
Thank you.
Good. And colleagues, any more questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. The resolution reads as follows: that council receives the Ontario Land Tribunal appeal for draft plan and subdivision file E24-01 report for information. For a mover and seconder on that resolution. Moved by Deputy Warden Orr, second by Councillor Wilhelm. Final call, questions, comments? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Andrea, for your work on these reports. It's greatly appreciated, as always. All right. Agenda item 8.2, corporate services. We have 3 items under this section. First is 8.2.1, the October 2025 Forestry Inspector's Report, and I'll turn to our clerk, Tyler Sager, to deliver that.
Perfect. So thank you. Through the warden, before council is the October 2025 Forestry Inspector's Report prepared by Forestry Inspector Marvin Smith. Within the month of October, Marvin completed 6 inspections in response to the submission of a notice of intent and 1 inspection response to the request from the landowner. If there's any questions, concerns, inquiries, I'd be happy to pass those along.
Okay, thanks. Tyler, colleagues? Anything, Tyler, on this? Okay, seeing none. Resolution reads as follows: that the council receives the October 2025 Forestry Inspector's Report for information. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Kellam. Final call for questions, discussion. If not, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. 8.2.2, the corporate accessibility policy and procedures. XIAC 1.01 update. And once again, Tyler Sager, Clerk and Manager of Legislative Services will provide that report to us. Go ahead, please, Tyler.
Thank you. So perfect. Thank you. Through the warning in front of council is the corporate accessibility policy and procedures update report. This report is a housekeeping report in nature. It's a consolidation of current policy that was actually last updated April 4th of 2014. So the current policy that we have in place is 24 pages in length and has 20 appendices included in it. So just a couple of key background points that I want to mention is the province set a goal of an accessible Ontario by 2025. So we have strived to meet that goal. And I think now that we've moved through the motions, that the next reasonable response would be to update our policy and consolidate it into a more manageable document. With that being said, the policy also incorporates all the provincially mandated AODA standards. Some of the main improvements within the policy that's before council today. One is enhanced readability, clear format, better organization throughout the document, as well as the document itself is accessible. So I want to mention that. One is the reduced length. It's more concise while retaining all the requirements from the province. 3, streamlined content. So we eliminated the redundancies. We saw as we went through the current policy that there are redundancies throughout. So we've removed those and again consolidated the information into more of a clear, concise manner that's manageable for both the staff as well as the public in terms of readability. And then update the references. So we saw obviously there's some stale information from the last update in 2014 to now. So it now reflects the current kind of organizational structure mentioned as clerk or designate instead of the accessibility coordinator role, which is not a role that is defined within our organizational chart. So again, what is kind of covered in the policy with the consolidation is the standards from accessibility, which are inclusive of customer service, information and communications, employment, transportation, and then built environments in the design space. So that concludes my report. Thank you. If you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to hear.
Very good. Thanks, Tyler. Colleagues, questions, comments on this report? Okay, seeing none, I'll proceed with the resolution. The council receives the corporate accessibility policy and procedures XIAC 1.01 update report, and that council approves the updated corporate accessibility policy and procedures XIAC 1.01. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor McDermott, seconder. Councillor Smith. Final call. Questions, comments, discussion? Now I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. 8.2.3, municipal prosecution update. We have a report 2025 to 209, and that will be brought forward by Michelle Evanschuk, our municipal prosecutor, and we're joined also by Executive Director Stefan Zalev. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Warden. Good morning, Council. My plan here was only to introduce Michelle, but the Warden already did that. So this is our municipal prosecutor, provincial offenses prosecutor, and with that, I'll let Michelle get a presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, Warden and members of Council. Today, I'll be providing you with an update regarding municipal prosecutions. Historically, Perth County has been responsible for prosecuting the less serious Part 1 and Part 2 offenses, while the province has handled the more serious Part 3 offenses. These include matters such as driving under suspension or stunt driving. After several years of collaboration and consultation with the Ministry of the Attorney General, Council approved the transfer of most of the Part 3 offenses to the municipality in 2025 in February. The municipality formally assumed the responsibility for these matters on June 2nd, with the exception of cases involving careless driving causing death, careless driving causing bodily harm. Overall, the transition has been very successful. The consolidation of these matters under the municipality has allowed us to streamline our processes and establish a single point of contact for the public. As a result of this, we have seen improved efficiency, clearer communication, and a higher level of service both inside and outside of the courtroom. Further, I would also like to highlight a training initiative that took place in November. The prosecution team, hosted by myself and the Assistant Prosecutor Courtney Owen, hosted a mock trial training session for our local enforcement agencies. The training was well attended and highly interactive. Officers were able to actively participate, gain practical insight into courtroom procedures, and better understand the trial process. The feedback was very positive, and we are planning to offer a similar training opportunity for new recruits in the spring. Thank you very much, Warden and council members, for allowing me to provide this update to you today. That does complete my report, subject to any questions that you may have.
Very good, Michelle. Thank you. Colleagues, questions for Michelle? Councillor Casey.
Not a question, more a comment. I certainly, in my role as chair of the OPP Detachment Board at Perth County, heard about the mock trial experience and can report that the police definitely appreciated that opportunity and were full of praise for that encounter. So thank you very, very much for organizing same, and know that our police friends were appreciative. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Okay, if not, the resolution reads as follows: that council receives the municipal prosecution report for information. Looking for a mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Eggett, seconded by Councillor Duncan. I'll call for questions, comments. If not, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Stefan. Okay, moving up to section 8.3, Public Works, under 8.3.1. Road rationalization update. We have report 2025-208 road rationalization update. And John McClelland, our Executive Director of Public Works, joins us and will present his report. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Warden. Good morning, Council. This report is to update Council on the road rationalization process that was undertaken this year and in 2024. Included in the staff report is a brief summary of Tatham Engineering's road rationalization report and recommendations of roads for upload and download. Staff would like to clarify at this time, we're not asking Council to approve the uploading or downloading of the recommended roads. We don't have enough information for you to make an informed decision at this time. That information will be fleshed out through phase 2, the implementation study, where we look at asset condition, implications, options, and the associated financial impacts. As such, we are looking for Council to award phase 2 implementation study to Tatham Engineering. As staff and Tatham Engineering completed their presentations of the road rationalization report to the 4 local councils from August to October of this year. The feedback and comments are summarized in our staff report, but there are a couple items to bring to Council's attention. North Perth's comments and feedback centered around growth and the need for a truck bypass through the town of Listowel. While the consultant acknowledges the Listowel bypass within the road rationalization report and its identification within North Perth's transportation master plan, and none of the road submissions from North Perth were recommended for upload. The road rationalization process uses current data and conditions in its analysis and does not consider growth. This was paramount to the concerns expressed by North Perth that the rationalization process is not forward-thinking and considerate of growth, which otherwise might be considered through the context of the transportation master plan. Following the county presentation, North Perth undertook a peer review of the road rationalization report and forwarded resolutions to the county requesting that the county proceed with the transportation master plan in 2026 that considers the future use of the road network in the county generally and in North Perth specifically, given the anticipated growth. Again, to clarify, today's recommendation is to move forward with phase 2, the implementation study. That decision does not tie council's hands to committing to uploading or downloading of roads or a transportation master plan. The transportation master plan is included in the 2026 capital budget. Council will find project details relating to the transportation master plan when they receive their budget binders later today. And you'll be considering that transportation master plan through the 2026 budget process. The inclusion of the TMP in the 2026 budget is supportive of the motion from North Perth, but not solely driven by that request. Another item to bring to your attention is the recommendation to upload Wayland Line from Highway 7 to Perth Road 151. This is a boundary road between Perth South and Lucan Biddulph. Sections west of Perth Road 151 were uploaded to Perth County and Middlesex County respectively in 2021. Middlesex County recommended upload of Lucan Biddulph's remaining portion of Wayland Line through their road process in 2025. Their rationalization process and implementation differ from ours. And we have been recently being made aware that Middlesex has executed that upload. As a result, Perth South has entered into a maintenance agreement with Middlesex County. This would remain in effect until Perth County officially uploads the Perth South section of Wayland Line. As stated before, the implementation study analyzes asset condition, options, strategies for implementation, and the financial impacts of those. An estimate of 15 to 20,000 has been provided to complete phase 2. Staff are recommending that council awards phase 2 implementation study to Tatham Engineering Limited. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, John. Colleagues, questions for John and his report? Councillor Wilhelm, go ahead, please.
Yes, thanks, John. If we were to approve this page RFP, how soon would we see a result back? Because as you mentioned, Middlesex County has already taken over their portion of the Wayland Line from Lucan Biddulph, and now Perth South entered into a maintenance agreement with Middlesex County, which I do not believe is ideal for Perth South.
Through the warden, difficult to say at this point to when that process could be completed with a few factors. I would hope that that could be completed prior to the next winter season, so that potentially that this situation could be addressed. We could certainly, if we move forward with this process today, make a request to the consultant that speed it up, the process, as much as we can.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Eggets, you're next on the speakers list. Go ahead, please.
Through you, Warden. Perth East, would I like to ask that Road 111 be added to the next study that takes place, and we would like that also added to the motion that that road would be looked into.
John, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the warden, to Councillor Eggett's request here, and just to provide a little more context, Road 111 is situated at the east end, not far from here, which basically borders the city of Stratford. There were lands as part of a previous annexation agreement that were annexed from Perth East to the city of Stratford. However, within that annexation, Road 111, it was not included as part of that annexation, so it remains in the ownership of Perth East, the road allowance, and Road 111. And as such, it's not technically a boundary road, but it certainly functions like a boundary road, and will certainly function more like a boundary road when the developments here are completed with the city. As such, we were made aware of this And certainly through this process, it's taken a little while with this road rationalization process. So a few things have happened during that time, one being Middlesex County and the Wayland Line and Road 111 with Perth East. As such, because of the nature of that roadway, we did run that through our consultant. We asked them to just take a look. We had the data associated with that road, run it through the criteria and principle-based assessment that we had done with all of the roads. As a result, that if that had been submitted by Perth East, it would be considered for upload to the county. So it met the criteria assessment and the principle-based assessment. At this time, again, as I stated, council is not making a decision right now on the upload or download of any of these roadways. That will happen once you get the information associated with the implementation study. I think it would be prudent if within the implementation study, that Road 111 be included as part of that study.
Okay, thanks, John. Clerk Sager, you had something on that matter as well?
So through the warrant, I can hold off until the comments and then we can include Councillor Eggins's into the resolution.
Okay. All right, Councillor Orr, you're next on the speakers list.
Happy to go to phase two. I also, I guess it was news to me at the municipal day that there could potentially be growth to the Port of Goderich. Can Tatham be aware of that? Because I think that's definitely going to affect us. For farmers, it'd be helpful to get the goods out of there, but it's going to affect our goods.
Go ahead.
Through the warden, great point, and yes, I received the same information. We can certainly relay that to Tatham, but that particular item would be more prudent to a transportation master plan, which is a little more strategic and or forward thinking, and it's like a strategic plan.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions, discussion? All right, Clerk Sager will read the resolution based on the presentation and the comments received from council. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So through the warrant, it would read as such, that council receives the road rationalization update report, and that council awards phase 2 implementation study to Tatham Engineering Limited and directs staff to take the necessary steps to execute the contract agreement. That council directs staff to include Road 111 in Perth East as part of phase 2 implementation study.
Okay, thank you. That's the resolution presented, looking for a mover and seconder. So moved by Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Eggins. Okay, questions, debate, discussion on the resolution as read aloud? Final call, seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. Thank you. Thanks, John, for your report. Appreciate it. All right, moving up, 8.4, the 2026 budget. I'll just check, colleagues, do you wish to have a break or do you wish to carry on? A break? Okay. All right, we'll adjourn for a break at 10:38 a.m. and then when we return, we'll get into All right, welcome back, colleagues, staff, and members of the public. We will resume our meeting at 10:52 a.m. And where we left off was 8.4, the 2026 budget, 8.4.1 overall budget presentation. Corey Bridges, County Treasurer. Good morning, Corey. You will lead us in this presentation. The floor is yours, Corey.
Thank you, Warden Trenkowski. We're just going to bring up the presentation that was within the slide deck that was within the agenda for today's council meeting. Again, on behalf of county staff, I would like to provide a overview of the 2026 draft budget. Next slide, or I can go here. As we move further beyond the inflationary cap of 2025, the 2026 draft budget reflects a continued trend of easing economic pressures. This marks a shift towards more financial stabilization and a more predictable planning environment. With no usage plan of reserves planned for 2026 county operations, Perth County is entering a phase of fiscally disciplined budgeting with an opportunity of strategic investment, turning the corner after a couple challenging fiscal cycles. The total 2026 budget includes $74 million, a combined operating and capital spending of approximately $64.4 million in operations, with $9.6 million in capital projects. The proposed amount to be collected through the tax levy is estimated at $27.5 million, representing a 7.9% increase to the tax rate from 2025. Notably, the removal of the reserve support in 2026 does contribute to 1.64% of the impact provided, but it does reinforce the county's commitment to long-term sustainability. 2026 new assessment within the County of Perth has been calculated at 1.76%. Perth County growth represents approximately $442,000 of the levy dollar increase offset by growth. The remaining increase is not supported by growth and it is to deal with maintaining service levels. Within the 2026 budget, the typical family home valued at $284,000. Again, that's 2016 values. The increase to the home would be just over $81. Farmland, to note, again, valued at $1.5 million on the median farm, would see an increase of $110.68. The county does provide 2 additional years of budget estimates within the binders. For 2026, the increase of $2.4 million is a 9.69% increase from the previous levy. It is forecasted that 2027 would see a $2.25 million increase, or an 8.19%. And 2028 levy increase would see approximately just over $2 million, or 2.1, and that'd be a 7.06% increase. Again, showing trending downwards each of the 3 years following this budget year. Major impacts related to the 2026 budget include winter maintenance and a shift of municipal drains funding from operations to capital reserves, as well as paramedic wages and WSIB impacts account for majority of the 2026 draft increases in operations. With WSIB and wages, the county continues to rely on an additional provincial funding to help address these increased liability related to those 2 impacting areas. Paramedic services and continue to allocate expenses with the wages and WSC budget lines. These impacts cover the majority of the county's approximately $473,000 increase in the share of the service with Perth County, as well as the share to the Stratford and St. Mary's. Again, we're continuing to increase winter maintenance expenses to ensure the county is maintaining our budget, as well as trying to generate a surplus within that depleted winter maintenance reserve. The increase to 2026 is approximately $600,000 to winter maintenance. As identified before, municipal drain work continues to be significant impact to operations. Department of staff has moved the treatment of these municipal drains to be funded from the Bridges and Culverts Reserve to ease the significant operational costs and smooth the fluctuations through capital reserve funds. The reduction impact to operations is approximately $860,000. County has forecasted an increase in FTE count of approximately 2 FTEs. The only request is within paramedic services as need to continue increased demand on health services to maintain existing service levels. COLA increase both for union and non-union is estimated at $661,000. Non-COLA related items amount for about $60,000, with the total increase to salary and benefits for Perth County at $1.7 million. Perth County is ending the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund and is set to end for Perth County in 2030. The reduction for 2026 is impact on the levy is about 0.42%. The county is going to receive just over $426,000. This will be eliminated over the next 5 years, but of $106,000 per year, and which has an approximate impact over the next 5 years of a 1.8 combined increase to the levy of Perth County. During the operational discussion with council will be considering and deliberating on the time and staff will be looking to council for approval to proceed with these considerations identified by staff. These items are currently not included in the draft budget. Capital budget. The capital budget for Perth County for 2026 is estimated at $9.6 million, which includes 33 projects. Some of the major projects are related to roads, bridges, rehabilitation, and as John had identified, it includes a transportation master plan, as well as courthouse maintenance, which include renovations to council chambers. 7.67 million of that 9.6 is funded from reserves. The province and federal government provide us with approximately $1.93 million. And within the capital levy identified, it's just over $5 million. The county has identified an increase of approximately $10 million in bridges and culverts over the next 10 years due to inflationary increases and revised engineering estimates. This, along with the movement of municipal drains as a capital maintenance to be funded from the Bridges and Culverts Reserve, has shifted the focus for 2026 draft budget to ensure the contributions to the capital levy allow for these cost adjustment increases, as well as funding the capital maintenance of municipal drains moving forward. Within the 2026 draft budget, the increase to the capital levy is just over approximately $1,080,000, or a 4.3% impact to the levy, with most of the increase being added to the bridges and culverts reserves. Bridges and culverts would increase to about $1.85 million, or an increase of $910,000. Roads would be a $3 million impact with an increase of $135,000, and medical equipment would see an increase of $35,000 to hit $280,000, totaling the total capital levy of $5,130,000. The dedicated increase to roads and bridges over the next 5 years will see increases of $630,000, which equates to approximately a dedicated increase of approximately 2% over the next 5 years to continue dealing with deficit we have within our infrastructure. The format for 2026 draft budget will be provided today online. It does include a 10-year capital budget plan with detailed sheets for the 2026 capital projects, as well as operating budgets, which includes work plans, budget financial forecasts, as well as including detailed financial information. I would just like to thank our communications officer, Sarah Franklin, for her time in providing not just the physical binders before you, as well as the online binder that will be provided to the public today. The 2026 budget signals a shift moving away from reactive fiscal measures and towards strategic foresight, with inflationary pressures continuing to soften and reserve reliance within the operations eliminated. The proposed amount to be collected through the 2026 tax levy is currently estimated at $27.5 million. After other source funding and revenues are considered, this represents a 9.69% increase from 2025, with a growth factor calculated at 1.76%, which approximates just over $440,000 of that proposed revenue. The 2026 tax rate would be 7.93%, and an increase of approximately $81 on a median typical detached home valued at $284,000. Through growth and efficiency and the budget inputs has reduced the overall levy $800,000, or approximately 3.2%, as was originally indicated at the completion of the 2025 budget process, which seen a levy anticipated just over 11%. That is my presentation on the overview. I'll turn it back over to the board.
Okay, thanks, Corey. Can you or staff give an indication of what the next steps are? Before I open the floor to questions. Next, interested in next steps and the timing.
Yeah, so next steps would be capital budget presentation for council to be discussed on January 8th. Council meeting with operations to be discussed on the 22nd of January.
And then after that, there would be another.
If there's required, there's another meeting for deliberations on February 5th.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks, Corey, for that report. Open the floor to questions and comments from colleagues on the report. Councillor Eggets, go ahead, please.
Through you, Warden. I asked for line by line to be included in here from page section 6 on. It's a high overview of each line. It's not line by line, is what I was expecting, not even close. Are we getting that information? I expected that to come out with the binder. The first part that I flipped through, yeah, there's stuff there. I haven't had time to totally go through it. Seems to be more information there, but that's not what this council asked for. We asked for line by line. When I want line by line, I want to know how much everything is, just like we got last year that we had to ask for then to get it. So I'm wondering where it is. Is it coming? And if not, we don't have it, why not?
Okay, Corey.
Through the word to Councillor Eggets, it's in the appendice at the back. There should be budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And
Every department?
yeah. Of the details.
Sorry. My apologies. I didn't go back that far.
No worries.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? Councillor Deputy Warden Moore, go ahead, please.
Corey, can you just, I guess it's a sore thought for me, but OMPF funding, how come we are getting cut off? Where, can we not fight for it? I know I ask this every year, but.
Yes, go ahead. Through the word to Deputy or there is a resolution of council to write a letter to the ministry related to these cuts in OMPF. The compilation of some information related to these cuts. The local municipalities are continuing to receive OMPF money, but it's not at the level of what it was when it subsidized farm to the tune of 75% reduction is what they currently receive. Perth County should be receiving approximately $23 million in OMPF money. We currently, as of 2025's amount was just over $5 million. We're essentially short approximately $18 million in funding that local citizens subsidize farm in their local area. So yes, there's a resolution of council. We're writing a letter to the ministry to deal with this lost revenue that we have seen here in Perth County.
Okay, thanks, Corey. Follow up? Okay. I guess that last question and answer would tie in nicely with Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, Kate Burns-Gallagher's presentation on infrastructure and housing, and noting that Roma 2026 is coming up next month, so there will be lots of ears in the building willing to hear what we have to say about that specific item. Anything else? Okay, don't see any more hands up on the speakers list, so turning to the resolution sheet. Resolution reads as follows: that council receives the 2026 overall budget presentation for information. Move by seconder, please. By Councilor McDermott, second by Councilor Kasenberg. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Right. Council reports. Thanks, Corey, very much. Appreciate work that you and your staff have put forward to get us started here, and we're looking forward to future reports as mentioned in the new year. All right, moving to section 9, council reports. 9.1, Warden's activity report for November 2025. We have the report from past Warden Kellum on that. Any questions on that report? Okay, seeing none. And again, thank you, past Warden and now Councillor Kellum, on your service as Warden for the county. Much appreciated. Resolution reads as follows: that council receives the Warden's activity report November 2025 for information. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Wilhelm. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. Thank you. Section 10, bylaws. We have nothing on our agenda for that. Notice, section 11, notice of motions. Nothing was submitted prior to, but look to council colleagues to see if there's any notice of motions that they wish to submit at this time. Deputy Warden, or go ahead, please.
Just wanting to have a notice of motion, follow up from the tree bylaw evening. There is a secondary bylaw that it's ours, but it has been, had input from the farmers. They referred to it that night. I just want to make sure that it is available for us to discuss in its whole. And I'm wondering if we could request to have Gerald Folkman and Henry Koskamp come here to explain the changes that they see might improve our bylaw.
Okay, so that's a motion you're intending to bring forward?
I've got to work it, but. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the intent?
Yes.
For upcoming meeting. Okay. Anything further we need on that? No? Okay. So that notice has been noted by the clerk, and we will, staff will follow up with you on that when we get to it for the future.
Sorry, I've never done the notice of motion, so I didn't know. I talked to you about it, I just didn't know how to submit. So.
That's fine. I think what you've done is satisfactory for now, and then the details will follow later.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else, colleagues, on notice of motions? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to section 12, other business. Any other business that colleagues wish to bring forward at this time? Councillor Eggers, go ahead.
I have, through the warden, I have one thing under other business that I'd like to bring up. We did have our public meeting last week, December the 10th, with the public to do with the forestry bylaw. There were many of us there taking notes as well as staff. I would like to propose that we have a special meeting moving forward for the forestry bylaw instead of trying to bring it in one of our council meetings. We're already trying to deal with budget, we're trying to deal with all the other stuff going on, and this topic warrants a special meeting of council. I'm hoping probably that first week of February to give staff, there is a motion already on the floor that staff are to bring back the information in January, but if we could have a meeting then of all of council that first part of February and dedicate that day to talk about the forestry bylaw. There was an awful lot of great points brought up that night, and now with Councillor Orr introducing the bylaw that the other two gentlemen brought up as well, I think that warrants more of our attention than 20 minutes or an hour. I think it warrants a special meeting. So I'd like to put forward a motion that we have a special meeting. I'd like council to pick that day right now. I am not willing to wait for a doodle poll and it gets shoved on and on and on and on because we can't come up with a date. So with your indulgence, if council is okay with that, is there a day? It doesn't have to be a Thursday. I'm not sure why we're so fixated on Thursdays, just because our meetings are Thursdays, but I think that we pick a day and have a special meeting.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Agat. Is there a particular day that you would like to bring forward so that we can start off the discussion?
Well, if council wants to do it the first week of February, I'm proposing either the Monday or the Tuesday. Probably the Tuesday is Perth South, okay, then Monday, the 2nd of February.
Evening or is there a specific time? Because I'm almost certain that West Perth will have a council meeting of their own.
Well, I'm in the morning.
The council would be on the same.
So
Prefer.
All right, well, how about the 9th of February?
I don't have a problem with a Thursday. I book off Thursdays as a rule because that's when we have our county council and sometimes we do have a special meeting. So like Thursdays really work out the best for me if it's a day meeting anyways.
Well, I'm looking at a day meeting. I'm not looking at a night meeting, but I'm not willing to go much past February 12th, Walter, because then we're almost into the end of the month. So
I'm open on the 12th. I'll come on the 12th.
Okay, so day meeting on the 12th. Looking at the councillors Councillor Kellum is checking his calendar. Councillor Wilhelm's looking at his.
It's fine for me.
Good.
I will have a work responsibility at noon on that day, so depending on the timing, I may not be available.
Okay, so from noon onwards, you're
11:45 onwards to be more precise, but yeah.
So we would be looking like this is gonna be a 9 o'clock start or thereabouts.
Yeah.
All right, so
then I can move a motion that we have a special meeting of council on February the 12th, starting at 9 a.m., dealing only with the forestry bylaw.
motion on the floor, seconder. Councillor Wilhelm. Discussion, I'll just check with staff. Is there any additional information you want to provide at this time concerning the motion?
So through the board, I believe the comment period is just ended this week, right?
Yes.
And so we will be pulling together all the comments. We will include a copy of the presentation material that was provided by external people at the level. So that is part of our feedback as well. And we'll take a look at it. In terms of the analysis of it, council had requested that the feedback come back to them in January. So certainly we can have that for you. I don't see a problem with that. We just haven't looked at all of it to see how much analysis would be necessary. But definitely the feedback can be there and you can have a discussion about it mid-February, yes.
Yeah, so just for clarification then, through the warden, is the intent that staff bring a report back in January and then have the special council meeting? Or is the intent by council to bring everything as one collaborative report and have that be presented at the special council meeting in February now?
Well, see, the original intent was to have the material come back in January, because I wanted to be fresh in everybody's mind, right? But if we're gonna have this meeting, then it can come to the meeting in February.
Well, then, yeah, and I guess to your motion, Councillor Agates, I believe it was, well, shortly after the open house, I was in discussion with both the deputy warden and the CAO, and I had recommended late last week that we get together, try and arrange to get together this week to do a follow-up and figure out exactly what you're suggesting about next steps in terms of collating not only collating the information for the January report, but also next steps in terms of the next meeting. We just didn't get an opportunity to sit down and discuss that. We will still sit down and discuss that now that a motion has been brought forward here for a date, but that was always on our radar to do that. Just haven't got there yet for different reasons, so appreciate you bringing it up. Any other discussion?
I just want to follow up with my notice of motion is more about bringing the second one, farmers one, as a whole and having them explain it. And maybe that could be done on that day, but I want them to explain their suggested changes.
So through the warning, maybe my recommendation is that, because the notice of motion, we haven't seen the next meeting, which would then delay it and potentially be on the meeting after that, which would be the first meeting of February, that potentially that, you know, to council and yourself is forego the notice of motion and have them present as a delegation at that special council meeting to provide their input as well as their presentation. And then that way it's one meeting that's all cohesive, would be my recommendation.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure that they have the floor to explain the changes.
If I might just.
Yeah, go ahead.
Check procedurally, if we have a dedicated meeting to that purpose, then any delegations who wish to make themselves heard may petition the council for that purpose, right? So certainly the proponents of the alternative version of the bylaw should be aware of this council's decision, should we elect to follow the motion on the floor. But many others could also avail themselves of that opportunity at their time.
And thanks for reminding us of that requirement, Councillor Kasenberg. Yeah, we will, staff will go back and follow the procedural steps that are required, not only to provide public notice of a motion that's not currently on our schedule, but moreover, inform the public that there's an opportunity for them to make presentations and so forth. Thank you. All right, so we had a mover and a seconder? Yes, okay.
Councillor Agates and Councillor Lowe.
Could you just reread the motion one more time, please?
Absolutely. So through the warning, that council host a special council meeting to be held on February 12th, 2026 at 9 a.m. to discuss the forest conservation bylaw. Moved by Councillor Agates, seconded by Councillor Lowe.
Checking with the mover and seconder. That's good. Okay. Any further discussion?
That ensures that delegation is there.
So through the warning, as any meeting, regular or special, that delegations can appear and discuss what they'd like to. By registering as a delegation, it'd be again, same procedure the following Wednesday before. So delegations, if they would like to delegate at the February 12th meeting, have until February 11th at 9 a.m.
And if I could just clarify, their version of the bylaw is already currently in our papers, like in our files.
In the comments?
Yes, but
You mean officially received as comments?
Yes.
During the commenting period?
yes, because I was not aware.
So through the warden, we will include their feedback.
Okay.
Right. Anything further? All right, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Item 13, announcements. Believe CAO Wolf and Clerk Sager had some announcement type information that they wanted to delivered, so I'll turn the floor to them to make those, share that information, and then councillors to follow up with their own announcements. Go ahead, CEO.
Thank you. Through the warden, it's always my pleasure at this time of year to extend to council, on behalf of the staff of the county, appreciation for a great year, the support that you've provided, both in the financial side of our operations as well as the governance side. So we wanted to extend to council a great season's greeting to you. Hope that you have a safe and happy holiday. And we look forward to an even better year in 2026. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, CEO Wolf, and I too, as warden, would echo those sentiments as well. Clerk Sager, go ahead, please.
Thank you. So through the warden, just a change in just how we're going to proceed with the agenda for January 8th meeting. Normally the agenda would be published the week before, that being January 1st. So just notification to council as well as the public, if they're looking for that January 8th agenda, that it won't be published until the Friday, January 2nd.
Okay, so noted, thank you. Councillors, any announcements? Okay, seeing none, I have one to make. The red handkerchief might come out here again. It's with heartfelt sorrow and regret that I make this announcement, and I'll read it out as follows. To the council, staff, and community of the municipality of West Perth, dated December 18th, 2025. On behalf of Perth County Council and Perth County staff, I wish to express our deepest, sincere, and most heartfelt condolences on the sudden and tragic loss of Cody Phelps. By all accounts, Cody was a remarkable person, caring, dedicated, loyal, pleasure to work with, and a valued mentor to learn from. Cody was a valued member of the West Perth municipal team. Through his many acts of community service, Cody left behind a positive and lasting impact on everyone who were touched by his spirit. Cody's commitment, dedication, character, and integrity were self-evident at all times. First and foremost, with his family, with his duties and activities at both the West Perth Operations Department and the Fire Department, and his contributions over the years with the Black Swans Rugby Club, Moncton Wildcats Senior Hockey, Mitchell Hawks Junior Hockey, and Mitchell Minor Hockey organizations. Cody was a role model who proudly served his family and his community. He did so faithfully, unselfishly, and without hesitancy, a shining example for the rest of us to both honor and emulate. Communities within Perth County become stronger, better, and happier places to call home because of people like Cody. West Perth and Perth County have lost the talents and the presence of a very good man. We are deeply saddened by this loss, and our thoughts are with his family, friends, and colleagues during this incredibly difficult time. So I also want to, this will be communicated to West Perth, to the staff, the municipal staff, to the fire department, as well as West Perth Council. Cody's father, Doug Phelps, is West Perth councillor representing the Mitchell ward. And at the celebration of life on Saturday, it's coming up this Saturday, from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock at the Mitchell Community Center, I will hand deliver this message, copies personally to the Phelps families. So, yeah, it was a shock. I was at a meeting on Friday and the text message come through, and yeah, I just had to stop what I was doing and go back to the office. It really hits home when something like this happens, and there's so many community connections. It's a loss that's shared by by everyone. So again, sympathies and condolences to not only the Phelps families, but to all those that are affected by the loss of Cody Phelps. Thank you. So at this time, item 14, closed session meeting and reporting out. We do not have closed session. So item 15 is a confirmatory bylaw, and again, because of my previously declared pecuniary interest, I will vacate the room and turn the chair over to Deputy Warden Orr.
The resolution is that the bylaw 4051-2025, a bylaw meetings of the Council of the Corporation of the County of Perth at its regular meeting held December 18th, 2025, is read a first, second, and third time and finally passed December 18th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Kellum, seconded by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you. Do you want me?
All right, thanks, Deputy Warden Orr. So we're at our final item, adjournment. We've covered all of our agenda items prescribed for us today. So I look to call for adjournment at 11:28 a.m. Moved by Councillor Smith, second by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. We are adjourned. Happy holidays and happy new year to everyone.